Well, good afternoon, everybody. One of the things I'm going through this, before I get into any sort of legislative proposals that I have, is just how much fun I'm having in Sacramento. The three of us on this side are freshmen. My good friend here has had 8 years in the state senate, and I think there's something to be said, even though we've been on the city council, Mike, in the past, going through the legislative cycle for the first time as a member. It's one thing to read about the deadline for introducing bills and the budget process and how a bill becomes a law. But just the appreciation for the different nature of the job that it is in Sacramento versus the city council, where Richard understands, and Mike understands, you're really sort of the mayor of your district. So even though the city council is called the legislative body for the city, it really isn't compared to what a legislator really does up in Sacramento. So I'm having a good time, and I wanted to start off with that, and thanking everybody here for their support during the election last year. As far as my bill package goes this year, it's a pretty diverse portfolio, if you will, reflecting, I think, a lot of the priorities that we all share, from healthcare to protecting the environment to the implementation of our infrastructure bonds that were approved last year, to public safety, on and on and on. Many of you have probably already heard or read about the first bill that I formally introduced, which is SB 120. It's a menu labeling bill, and it calls for restaurant chains of 10 or more restaurants to provide nutritional content information on the menus or on the menu boards if it's a fast food establishment. And that's done in the spirit of, we're having this whole healthcare conversation this year in Sacramento about how to expand coverage. But most people will tell you, not only do we have a healthcare crisis in California and the United States, but we have a health crisis in California and the United States. And we're encouraging people to be healthier, eat better, and exercise. But it's tough to eat better or make smarter decisions about eating better if you don't have the information in front of you. So that's one of the bigger bills that I'm carrying this year. I have another couple of bills that will increase the level of recycling that we have in the state of California, and in part providing resources to really launch multi-family recycling programs, not only in Los Angeles, but throughout the state. Another bill, an outdoor recreation and education bill sponsored by the Sierra Club, an education bill that calls for some improved assessment and diagnostics of kindergartners and first grade students. That's being sponsored by the state superintendent of schools. Public safety bills on behalf of the city of Los Angeles, shooting victims bill of rights. You might have read about that last week. And the last example I'll give you is one of the easier bills, I hope. It's for the MTA. You read about the length of the buses on the Orange Line busway and a need for an amendment to state law. So that's SB 650, 65-foot buses for the Zero, which is the Orange Line. So just to give you a flavor or a taste of the various bills that I'm working on this year, and I'll just end with this note, even though I probably still have a little bit of time left. A lot of people are wondering what's going to happen with the bond numbers. We voted for housing bonds and transportation bonds and all these other bonds last year. How is that going to get spent? And so policy committees have already held a series of hearings on what sorts of criteria, what types of projects those monies should go to. And at least on the Senate side, all those recommendations are going to come to the Budget Committee and will be resolved during the budget process this summer. So just fight for the Valley's fair share. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague and predecessor,